Jane and Michael had been together since high school. Their love story began in their small hometown, where they met and fell in love. Over the years, their bond grew stronger, and they got married. Now in their late 20s, they were parents to a beautiful 4-year-old daughter named Lily. Lily was the center of their world, but she had a special place in her heart for Emma, Jane's brother David's ex-wife. David and Emma had been together for about 4 years. Emma was a ray of sunshine, bringing out the best in David. The entire family adored her. Jane often joked that her parents loved Emma more than they loved their own children. To Lily, Emma was a fairy princess. Every time they visited David and Emma, Lily would beg to stay longer with Aunt Emma, pleading to come back tomorrow. Emma was 6 months pregnant, and the family was eagerly awaiting the arrival of the new baby. David and Emma were overjoyed, planning and preparing for their future as parents. Emma had been feeling unwell and had some stomach pains, so she asked David to take her to the hospital. The doctors reassured them that everything was fine and sent her home. Emma kept insisting that something didn't feel right, but David dismissed her concerns, thinking she was overreacting. The next day, David, Michael, and their friends planned a fishing trip. Emma begged David to stay, telling him she didn't feel well and needed him. David, irritated, told her to stop overreacting. He needed some time for himself. Turning off his phone, he left for the trip. That evening, Jane received a frantic call from Emma. By the time Jane arrived, Emma was half conscious on a bloody floor. Jane rushed her to the hospital, but they were told they needed David's signature to proceed with the operation. After much arguing, the doctors saved Emma's life, but the baby was lost. Emma woke up screaming and crying, asking for her child and husband. The sight was heartbreaking. Both Jane's and Emma's parents were in tears. Jane kept calling David and Michael, but neither responded. When Emma finally calmed down, it was as if the life had drained out of her eyes. David returned the next day to an empty, bloody apartment. Panicked, he rushed to the hospital and apologized to Emma, crying. But Emma, devoid of any feeling, asked for a divorce. David fell into a deep depression, spending his days drinking in the nursery they had prepared for the baby. The family, in their grief, offered little consolation, each blaming David in some way for the tragedy. Michael visited David and returned home, urging Jane to apologize and console her brother. Jane refused. This sparked an argument. Michael blamed Emma for the miscarriage, saying she should have gone to the hospital sooner instead of making a scene. He defended David, saying he needed some alone time before the baby came. Jane, unable to take it any longer, threatened divorce and took Lily to her parents' house. Days passed without contact. Jane, torn between grief, anger, and confusion, wasn't sure if she had acted rightly. Michael's words echoed in her mind, but she couldn't bring herself to console David, not yet. On the third day, Jane decided to visit Emma. She found Emma in her apartment, the atmosphere heavy with sorrow. They sat in silence for a while before Emma spoke. "I don't blame David entirely," Emma said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I can't forgive him for not being there when I needed him the most." Jane nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I know. I can't imagine the pain you're going through. I just wish there was something I could do to help." Emma reached out and took Jane's hand. "Just being here helps, thank you." Emma's recovery was slow. Her parents moved in with her for a while to provide support. Jane visited frequently, bringing Lily to cheer her up. The bond between Emma and Lily remained strong, and Lily's innocent joy brought a small light to Emma's dark days. Emma decided to move away for a fresh start. She found a job in a new city and began to rebuild her life. The change of scenery helped her heal, and she started to make new friends. Emma joined a support group for women who had experienced similar losses. The group became a source of strength and understanding, helping her process her grief and find a way forward. David's depression deepened. He couldn't forgive himself for what happened. His guilt and sorrow consumed him, and he shut himself off from the world. Jane visited him frequently, trying to offer support, but David was inconsolable. Jane encouraged David to seek professional help. After much persuasion, he agreed to see a therapist. The sessions were difficult, forcing David to confront his emotions and his actions. Slowly, he began to open up about his guilt and his grief. The therapist helped him understand that while he made mistakes, he needed to forgive himself to move forward. Michael continued to support David as well, visiting him regularly. Their bond strengthened during this time, and they often spent hours talking about their childhood, their dreams, and their regrets. These conversations became a lifeline for David, helping him reconnect with the world. Jane and Michael attended marriage counseling regularly. The sessions were tough but necessary. They learned to communicate their feelings without judgment, to listen without interrupting, and to support each other even when it was hard. The process was slow, but they were committed to making it work. Through counseling, Jane and Michael discovered unresolved issues from their past. They worked through their differences and found ways to reconnect. Their love for each other grew deeper, and they realized the importance of being there for one another. Lily, too young to fully understand the complexities of the situation, adapted the quickest. She missed Aunt Emma but enjoyed the visits they had. Her parents made sure she felt loved and secure, providing a stable environment amidst the turmoil. A year had passed since the tragedy. Emma, now settled in her new life, found herself in a better place emotionally. She had joined a support group for women who had experienced similar losses, and this community became a source of strength and understanding for her. David, encouraged by his therapist, decided to visit Emma. It was a difficult decision, but he knew he needed closure. He wanted to apologize again, to show her that he had changed. The meeting was emotional, but it brought a sense of peace to both of them. Emma, seeing the remorse in David's eyes, forgave him. She had moved on, and she hoped he could do the same. Jane and Michael celebrated their anniversary with a quiet dinner at home. They reflected on the past year, acknowledging the pain but also the growth they had experienced. Their bond was stronger than ever, forged through trials and tribulations. 2 years later, the family had found a new normal. Emma, now engaged to a kind and understanding man, invited Jane, Michael, and Lily to her wedding. It was a joyous occasion, filled with laughter and love. David, though still single, had made significant progress in his personal life. He had started volunteering at a local community center, finding purpose in helping others. Jane and Michael, with their marriage stronger than ever, decided to expand their family. They welcomed a baby boy, naming him after Jane's late grandfather. The birth brought renewed joy and a sense of completeness to their lives. Lily, now a doting big sister, took her role seriously. She adored her baby brother and enjoyed spending time with her parents, who had created a loving and supportive home. The journey had been long and painful, but the family had emerged stronger and more united. They had learned the importance of forgiveness, understanding, and communication. The scars of the past remained, but they served as reminders of their resilience and the power of love. Jane, Michael, David, and Emma had all found their paths to healing, each in their own way. They continued to support each other, knowing that life would always have its challenges, but also its beautiful moments. Through it all, they had discovered that love, forgiveness, and the willingness to change could lead to new beginnings and a brighter future. And in those moments of joy and peace, they knew they had truly found their second chance. Emma thrived in her new city. She had thrown herself into her work, excelling in her job and earning the respect of her colleagues. Her relationship with her fiancé, Mark, was a source of great joy. He was patient and understanding, always willing to listen to her past without judgment. Emma's involvement in the support group became more significant. She started facilitating meetings, helping other women who were going through what she had endured. Her experience and empathy made her an invaluable resource, and she found a new purpose in supporting others. Jane and Michael visited Emma and Mark frequently. Their friendship had deepened over the years, and they cherished the time they spent together. Mark adored Lily, and she quickly warmed up to him, adding another layer of happiness to their visits. David's volunteer work at the community center became his salvation. He found meaning in helping others, and it gave him a sense of purpose he had lost. He worked with troubled teens, sharing his experiences and guiding them towards better choices. One of the teens, a boy named Ethan, reminded David of himself at that age. Ethan had lost his way after a family tragedy, and David saw an opportunity to help him find his path. Through their interactions, David realized how far he had come. His work with Ethan became a personal mission, and over time, Ethan began to thrive under David's mentorship. David's dedication to his volunteer work was noticed by the community center's director, who offered him a full-time position. David accepted, finding fulfillment in his new career. He began taking courses in counseling, aiming to become a certified counselor to better help the teens he worked with. Jane and Michael continued to strengthen their relationship. The birth of their son, Jacob, had brought them even closer. They shared the joys and challenges of parenthood, supporting each other every step of the way. One evening, after the children were asleep, Jane and Michael sat on the porch, reminiscing about their journey. "We've come a long way," Michael said, holding Jane's hand. "I'm so grateful for you." Jane smiled, leaning into him. "Me too. We've faced so much, but we've always found our way back to each other." Their bond was unbreakable, forged through their shared experiences and unwavering commitment to each other. They knew that, no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. As David's career flourished, he decided it was time for a change of scenery. He found a charming house near the community center, close enough to his family but far enough to feel like a fresh start. Moving into his new home, David felt a sense of hope and renewal. Jane, Michael, and the children helped him settle in. They spent weekends painting walls, assembling furniture, and making the house feel like a home. The process was therapeutic for David, symbolizing a new beginning. On the first night in his new house, David invited the family over for dinner. They laughed, shared stories, and celebrated the positive changes in their lives. It was a night filled with love and connection, reinforcing the bonds that held them together. The day of Emma and Mark's wedding arrived, and it was a beautiful celebration of love and new beginnings. The ceremony took place in a picturesque garden, with close family and friends in attendance. Jane was Emma's maid of honor, and Lily was the flower girl, scattering petals with pure joy. As Emma walked down the aisle, she felt a wave of emotions. Her journey had been difficult, but standing there, about to marry a man who loved and respected her, she felt a deep sense of peace. Mark's eyes were filled with love as he watched her approach, and when they finally stood together, the world seemed to fade away. The vows they exchanged were heartfelt and sincere, promising to support and cherish each other through all of life's challenges. When they were pronounced husband and wife, the joy was palpable. Everyone cheered, celebrating the union of two souls who had found each other against all odds. Mark embraced his role in the extended family with open arms. He bonded with Lily, and she adored him. Jane and Michael were thrilled to see Emma so happy, and their families grew closer. They often spent weekends together, sharing meals, stories, and laughter. David, too, found joy in this blended family. He admired Mark and was grateful for the love and support he gave to Emma. The family gatherings became a source of strength and happiness for everyone involved. In his new role at the community center, David met Sarah, a fellow counselor who shared his passion for helping others. They worked closely together, their professional respect gradually blossoming into a deep personal connection. Sarah had a gentle strength that drew David in, and he found himself falling in love again. Sarah was supportive and understanding, knowing about David's past and his journey to redemption. Their relationship grew naturally, built on mutual respect and shared values. David introduced Sarah to his family, and they welcomed her with open arms. Years passed, and the family continued to grow and evolve. Jane and Michael's children thrived in a loving and supportive environment. Emma and Mark welcomed a child of their own, a baby girl named Grace. Lily was thrilled to have a new cousin, and the children formed a close bond. David and Sarah got married in a small, intimate ceremony, surrounded by loved ones. It was a celebration of love, redemption, and new beginnings. The family, once fractured by tragedy, had found a way to heal and grow stronger together. The journey had been long and painful, but the family had emerged stronger and more united. They had learned the importance of forgiveness, understanding, and communication. The scars of the past remained, but they served as reminders of their resilience and the power of love. Jane, Michael, David, and Emma had all found their paths to healing, each in their own way. They continued to support each other, knowing that life would always have its challenges but also its beautiful moments. Through it all, they had discovered that love, forgiveness, and the willingness to change could lead to new beginnings and a brighter future. And in those moments of joy and peace, they knew they had truly found their second chance. One evening, the entire family gathered for a reunion. The children played in the yard, their laughter echoing through the air. The adults sat around the table, sharing stories and memories. The journey had not been easy, but they had made it through together. Jane looked around at her family, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. "We've come so far," she said, tears of joy in her eyes. "I'm so proud of all of us." Michael took her hand, smiling. "We've faced so much, but we've always come back to each other. Here's to our future." David raised his glass. "To family, to love, and to second chances." Emma nodded, her eyes shining with happiness. "To new beginnings and the strength to overcome anything." As the sun set, the family sat together, united by love and the bonds they had forged. They knew that, whatever the future held, they would face it together, stronger than ever. And in that moment, they were at peace, knowing that they had found their way through the darkness to the light together.